Hanho is mad because Sungwoo is forcing him to tag along on his dangerous quest. Sungwoo tells him that he's weak and he will not even survive a single day without him. Hanho changes the topic and tells Sungwoo that people are responding to his post on the community forum. Sungwoo received all sorts of comments, but one comment is more captivating, and it is done by prosecutor of Yeongdong-po, the same guy who made a base with a level 3 pioneer skill. It seems like they made their own guild called Independence. Their guild's top priority is the survival of their group. They are making their safe zone stronger by hunting monsters and rescuing survivors. Sungwoo thinks this prosecutor guy is too ambitious. Sungwoo asks Hanho about his level, and Hanho replies that he is on level 5. Sungwoo thinks Hanho is too weak and he needs to grind levels as well. Spearman Kyung-soo stops the car and tells them that they have arrived at their destination. Sungwoo's party steps out of the car and Sungwoo tells them that this is their new hunting ground, while a lot of monsters are hiding behind cars and various blockage. These monsters are called kobolds and they can use magic as well. They are not that much of a threat and they get easily wiped out. The main purpose of this hunt is to help Hanho level up and to find new minions for Sungwoo. A single werewolf is capable of defeating 3 or 4 low-level vampires, even though these kobolds can use magic, but they are not strong enough to be used as minions. There are a lot of dead bodies outside the parking lot, which is looking a bit similar to the college campus. Sungwoo thinks that same tutorial must have taken place in all densely populated areas. Spearman Kyung-soo tells them that he thinks countryside places and small mountain villages like Jeju Island can be safer because they have low population. Ji Soo-yoon's family lives on Jeju Island and she tells them not to worry because her family members are big shots, so they must be fine. Sungwoo and his party enters the mart, but their exit gets sealed with magic, and this mart has now become a large-scale dungeon called the Sorcerer's Fortress. They can now only escape by defeating the boss of this dungeon. Suddenly, a huge magic circle forms beneath them, and they all get teleported to different locations inside the dungeon. Hanho falls down from a circle on the ceiling. There are a bunch of kobolds and they are telling each other that a single human has fallen into their trap. Hanho is amazed after hearing them talk. Hanho tells them that he may be alone, but he can wipe those puny kobolds by himself. But when Hanho realizes he is really alone, he becomes afraid. All kobolds rush towards Hanho, but he is too scared to fight back, but he manages to kill one kobold by accident, and the other kobold starts beating him. He is crying because he was forced to come here by Sungwoo and now he's going to die, but soon he realizes that he cannot feel any pain. Hanho remembers that one of his priest class skill protects him for 10 seconds after killing an enemy. The kobolds become afraid as Hanho starts laughing. Hanho starts feeling like a character from Fist of the North Star and he tells those puny kobolds that he hates weaklings like them. Spearman Kyung-soo and Jisoo are both together and they're trying to find their party members as fast as they can. Soon, they see blood coming out of a corner. Once they come close, they realize that it was Hanho who just finished a bunch of kobolds. Ji Soo-yoon still can't believe what she saw, and Hanho tells her that he has finally awakened his hidden potential. All 3 of them are now together, and they don't think they need to worry about Sungwoo, because he's more powerful than all of them. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sungwoo and his minions are massacring the kobolds. Sungwoo finally reaches a place with a lot of kobold dead bodies, and a survivor is lying there. His wounds are too severe to be healed by mere potions. The survivor points toward a box. Sungwoo picks it up for him. There's a mysterious egg inside, and it's an exclusive item which can be hatched. With his last breath, the survivor tells Sungwoo that the boss of this dungeon has the owner token for this egg. This egg originally belonged to the survivor, and its token was stolen by the boss monster somehow. Sungwoo knows that the survivor was a 5-star dragon knight, and this mysterious egg has a real dragon inside of it. More kobolds appear, but they get slaughtered by Sungwoo's minions. Now Sungwoo is determined to find that token and take revenge for the survivor. Sungwoo notices that something is strange about these kobolds. They just keep charging at him without thinking, as if they were buying time for something. Soon, Sungwoo spots a kobold sorcerer. One of his minions easily kills him, and the other kobolds also die without much resistance. Sungwoo levels up and this time he chooses a skill card. He receives a new basic skill called Corpse Explosion. This skill requires 10 mana to explode a corpse. More kobolds start charging at him and Sungwoo tests out his new skill, which causes a big explosion. 4 kobolds are hiding inside a room. Righty comes in and easily takes care of them. Sungwoo praises Righty for it, and Righty becomes happy. Further inside the room, they spot the boss, which is a high-level kobold sorcerer. There is a force field around him, and it cannot be broken until 3 cores are smashed, which are spread around the dungeon. Boss Monster is angry after witnessing the massacre of his underlings. He uses a low-level instant death spell. If this spell isn't stopped within an hour, any player in the dungeon with a level lower than 10 will die right away. Sungwoo becomes afraid because everyone in his team is below level 10. His minions keep attacking but they can't do anything to the force field. Sungwoo thinks normal attacks are not going to work, so he orders his minions to gather all dead bodies near the boss. Sungwoo leaves the room and he detonates all kobold dead bodies, which results in a big explosion. But once Sungwoo comes back, there's not even a single scratch on the boss. The boss becomes enraged and sacrificed some of his health to reduce the spellcasting time. And now there are only 52 minutes left. Sungwoo becomes really pissed and the boss starts smirking. Sungwoo received memory fragments after reviving some kobold sorcerers, and now he knows the exact location of the cores. First core is located on their floor and Righty destroys it, but there are only 19 minutes left. They move up to the next floor and there are a lot of dead kobolds in there. Sungwoo thinks Jisoo must have killed them. When he gets closer to the second core's location, he witnesses Hanho destroying the kobolds. Both Sungwoo and Righty can't believe what they just witnessed. Jisoo tells Sungwoo that they also received that spell notification and she destroyed the core located on their floor. Hanho tells them that they are wasting time and they should head toward the last core. Sungwoo and his party is wreaking havoc as they are heading towards the last core. Finally, they spot the last core, but kobolds are desperately trying to protect it with their lives. Sungwoo gives Righty a hand, and Righty jumps above the kobolds and manages to cut the last core into 2 pieces. The force field around the boss has been dispelled, and now they only need to kill the boss within 9 minutes. Sungwoo is quite pissed at the boss, and he's going to wreck him. Hanho also transfers back to his normal state. There are only 2 minutes left, but Sungwoo and his party arrives on time. One of the kobold sorcerers of Sungwoo uses Fireball on the boss, and he gets knocked over, which results in cancellation of the instant death spell. The boss becomes pissed, and he starts transforming into his true form, which is a fallen tree spirit. After transforming, it starts smashing Sungwoo's minions with ease. It tries to attack Sungwoo and his friends, but they manage to dodge it in time. Jisoo uses a fire sword attack to burn one of its branches, but it starts regenerating right away. Sungwoo orders one of his werewolf minions to throw dead kobolds at the boss. When the dead bodies come closer to the boss, Sungwoo detonates them, which results in a big explosion. The explosion damaged the face of the boss, but it is regenerating at a faster pace. The boss gets hit from behind by kobold sorcerer Fireball, which is quite effective against him. Sungwoo's party starts attacking boss with fire attacks, and soon he runs out of mana because of Sungwoo's legendary item, the Devil Bloodstorm Orb, which leeches the enemy's mana by 2% after every attack. The boss became weaker after losing his mana. Sungwoo and his party retreats, and Sungwoo detonates all the dead bodies of the kobolds, which were piled upon each other by his minions just below the boss. The boss dies because he had no mana left to regenerate himself. Sungwoo received 12,840 gold for defeating the fallen tree spirit, and he also leveled up to 10. Sungwoo also receives another roulette ticket from the system because he's the 69th person to reach level 10, and his rank has increased to infinite level. Sungwoo's maximum number of minions has also increased by 5. Sungwoo chooses a skill card and he gets a death response skill which consumes 100 mana, and it summons 10 zombies which disappear after 10 minutes, and these zombies are not included in his total number of minions. Sungwoo can now command 25 undead at the same time, which will be a huge advantage against the Vampire Lord. Sungwoo received the Dragon Token, which is a masterless sword, and he is now confident enough to face the Vampire Lord head on. This new masterless sword increases its user's strength by 6, and it is required to open the Dragon Egg, but Sungwoo can't open the egg because his class is not synchronized with the Dragon Tamer class. He can still hatch the Dragon Egg if he can keep it closer to him for 5,000 days, or if he can slay powerful foes with the masterless sword to reduce the maximum number of days. Hanho tells him that 5,000 days are equal to 13 years, and he will be a middle-aged man by the time the egg hatches. But he can slay powerful foes with the sword, which will decrease the egg hatching time. Sungwoo receives a message from Taesung, who was sent to Haegung Square Inn to spy on the vampires. He tells Sungwoo that there are hundreds of people present there, but there are no signs of vampires yet. He also informs Sungwoo that private messages like this cost 300 gold. Sungwoo thinks Taesung is doing a good job by sneaking in with the survivors. Meanwhile, Orc Skeleton spots something. When Sungwoo arrives, there are 2 werewolf corpses which seem to have been killed by the tree spirit. Sungwoo revives them, and now he has 5 werewolves under his authority. Sungwoo has a total of 15 minions, and he thinks right now is the best time to head towards Hwasong to finish off the vampires. The survivors are in a confused state because the guys who invited them there are not in sight. At the same time, the vampires are watching the survivors from a nearby building. Second-in-command Vampire Master comes around and tells them to get ready because they're going after the guy who attacked their factory. Vampire Lord wants the guy dead before he can interfere with their grand feast. Taesong spots them heading outside and he informs Sungwoo about them. According to the Vampire Lord's curse skill, they were at the elementary school. After reaching the spot, they spot a werewolf dead body lying on a car. They think this werewolf was killed by Sungwoo's minions because his wounds are still fresh. There is a trail of blood nearby and it leads to the auditorium nearby. All of them start rushing inside the auditorium. The vampire leading these low-ranked vampires is a vampire master and he can handle 2 werewolves at the same time. And he works directly under the Vampire Lord. Some vampires rush inside and they spot Sungwoo with his minions. Vampire are quite confident they can easily take him down. Sungwoo and his minions start running away from the vampires. Sungwoo stops after leading them to a dead end. Vampires become a bit afraid because they feel something is wrong. Sungwoo summons his remaining minions from the void. He also uses death response to summon zombies and vampires become afraid. Zombie starts massacring the vampires. Righty uses his command skill on the skeleton minions which gives them a small buff. Most of the vampires have lost hope because of Curse of Death. Sungwoo is quite pleased with his formation and strategy. A female vampire tries to go directly for Sungwoo, but she gets hit by fireballs of kobold sorcerers. Righty finishes her off by cutting her into 2 pieces, and Sungwoo receives 2,000 gold for killing her. Vampire Master is the last remaining vampire, but he is quite strong. Normal skeletons and zombies are getting easily wrecked by him. 2 zombies manage to bite him, but he easily gets rid of one of them. Vampire Master tries to go directly for Sungwoo, but while he is in the air, Sungwoo explodes the remaining zombie, which deals a huge amount of damage to the Vampire Master. He falls to the ground and werewolves start munching on him. Sungwoo kills the Vampire Master with the Nameless Sword. He receives 20,000 gold for killing a special player, and the egg hatching days are reduced to 4,949 days. Sungwoo revives all of the dead vampires with complete limbs. Sungwoo also received another synergy because he has more than 5 vampire skeletons in his party. This synergy adds 5% bleed damage to all of their attacks and they activate the Berserk mode after dying, which boosts all of their stats by 10%. Sungwoo is now sure that he has the best deck possible in this level. Jisoo and Hanho have also sneaked in with the survivors. Jisoo sent a private message to Sungwoo because the vampires have just started acting more suspicious. They are asking people to hand over their weapons as a requirement to enter the safety zone. Sungwoo is sure that Vampire Lord must have sensed the deaths of his underlings. That's why he is speeding things up. Meanwhile, in the survivors' camp, an old player spots some werewolves which are piked on the rooftop. The survivors become amazed after watching it because these werewolves are powerful enough to tear apart normal wolves with ease. Jisoo and Hanho's turn comes up for handing over their weapons. Jisoo thinks these players who are working for the vampires are pathetic. Meanwhile, Taesong comes from behind. He tells Jisoo Yun that he hid her twin swords in the spot she told him about. It was quite easy for them because their gang member Yong Shik is a 2-star thief. They also got the stuff Hanho requested. After going through the weapon screening process, they are moved with other players. Soon, the Vampire Lord comes out with his lesser vampires. They are all wearing masks, and the Vampire Lord seems mad because of Sungwoo. Hanho and Jisoo Yun both know that the one leading this group is the true Vampire Lord, and now they just need to wait for Sungwoo to arrive. The vampires surround the survivors, and the Vampire Lord start addressing them. He tells them that humanity has stopped evolving, and this disaster has happened because of the shortcomings of humans. He goes on to say that they will be killed here, so that the next stage of evolution can happen. All of the vampires remove their masks, and Vampire Lord tells them that the vampires are the only chosen one who are destined to ascend to the next stage of evolution. Survivors become scared, and the vampires start massacring them. The survivors can't escape because there are electric fences around them. Spearman Kyung-soo comes driving in and he crashes the school bus into the electric fences. Jisoo and Hanho come out with their weapons and they start guiding the players to safety. Vampire Lord becomes more enraged, but Sungwoo steps out of the bus and tells him that he is here to crash the Mosquito King's party. Vampire Lord welcomes Sungwoo to the party, and Madame Yang heads out with the human collaborators to round up the escaping survivors. Vampire Lord tells him that the survivors will be dead by the time he deals with him, but Sungwoo is sure that his party members can take care of them on their own. A werewolf jumps on the Vampire Lord and he easily smashes the head of the werewolf, but it was a trap, and there are goblin dead bodies filled inside the werewolf. Sungwoo detonates the goblin corpses, which results in a huge explosion. The vampires become more agitated because their leader has been hit with a deadly attack. Sungwoo runs back inside the bus and the vampires start following him. There are a lot of dead monster corpses inside the bus, and Sungwoo seems to have escaped through a hole in the bus. Sungwoo explodes the bus, which results in the death of a huge number of vampires. Vampire Lord Han starts emitting red energy, which means he is somehow regaining his strength. Meanwhile, Madame Yang is chasing down the survivors along with the player collaborators, but suddenly the player collaborators start dying one after another. Madame Yang feels an ominous presence behind her, and she manages to dodge a deadly surprise attack from Ji Soo-yeon. Both girls are pumped up and they get ready to go toe-to-toe against each other. Han-ho and Taesong manage to escort the survivors to a safe location, but a vampire appears who was stationed there by the Vampire Lord himself. Han-ho tries to stop Taesong, but he starts attacking the vampire because he thinks this vampire looks weaker than others. The vampire manages to dodge all of his attacks, and he's about to bite the neck of Taesong, but he gets interrupted by Han-ho's daggers. The vampire jumps up in the air while dodging the punch of Taesong. Han-ho throws some daggers which successfully hit his face, and he falls down to the ground. The vampire is not dead yet, and he is pissed because they damaged his beautiful face. On the other side, Sungwoo has taken care of the low-level vampires with that explosion, but he knows that his real adversary is still alive. The Vampire Lord jumps on the bus, and he seems to have changed his form after drinking the blood of his own lesser vampire. Sungwoo summons his minions from the void, and the Vampire Lord starts rushing toward him. The Vampire Lord jumps in the middle of the Orc Skeleton formation, and he starts crushing them to pieces. Sungwoo realizes that these Orc Skeletons can't stop the Vampire Lord for much longer. Sungwoo activates Death Response, and zombies come out of the ground. Vampire Lord easily gets rid of them, and Sungwoo detonates the zombies, but this time Vampire Lord blocks the explosion with his Blood Field skill. Sungwoo changes his strategy, and he sends the werewolves for the Cerebrus synergy. This synergy effect increases their strength against a single enemy. Vampire Lord is quite confident, and he takes care of 3 werewolves in just a single slash attack. Vampire Lord tells Sungwoo that he is losing badly because he belongs to an unevolved species. He further elaborates that the strong ones are destined to rule over weak. The Vampire Lord was a serial killer even before the class selection happened. After selecting the vampire class, he knew for sure that the guy who turned this world into a game wanted him to evolve into an apex being, and he's going to lead the world to its next evolution. Sungwoo tells him these things are not even gonna matter because Vampire Lord is destined to die today. Soon, Vampire Lord gets a telepathy message from Madame Yang, and she needs his help. Madame Yang has suffered several injuries at the hands of Ji Soo-yeon. Madame Yang is pissed because she couldn't land even a single hit on Jisoo. Ji Soo-yeon got a lot of practical experience by hunting herself, while Madame Yang just bit-chained players to get stronger. That's why she's badly losing to her. Ji Soo-yeon manages to land a critical double slash attack on Madame Yang. Madame Yang falls to the ground and Ji Soo-yeon finishes her off. Meanwhile, on the other side, Han-ho and Taesong are not doing well. The vampire gives them a once-in-a-life opportunity to become a vampire like him. He tells them this new world is unfair, and they can increase their survival chances by becoming a parasite and sticking to someone stronger like the Vampire Lord. Han-ho says he is right, and sticking to someone stronger is the best strategy in this world filled with monsters. That's why he is sticking with Sungwoo. A rider comes from behind the vampire and he gets distracted. Han-ho throws a dagger while the vampire's attention is on the motorbike. The vampire manages to dodge the dagger and it goes directly into the chest of the rider, but he is saved because he had a goblin sitting in the front. It was all part of Han-ho's plan, and he was aiming for the goblin in the first place. Han-ho grows bigger because of his skill, which makes him invincible for some time after each kill. The vampire attacks him with all of his force, but his attack had no effect on Han-ho, who is currently invincible. Han-ho stabs him again and again with his high-speed slash skill. Taesong and a spearman also attack him at the same time. Vampire tries to go for Taesong, but Han-ho blocks his attack. Vampire becomes pissed and he keeps attacking him. Spearman and Taesong go for another attack, and they manage to inflict serious damage on the vampire, while Han-ho is working as their shield. Han-ho starts losing power and the vampire notices it. Someone throws a goblin and Han-ho kills it with his knife. It turns out one of Taesong's gang members is tasked at throwing goblins at Han-ho whenever his skill runs out. Han-ho tells the vampire that he can power up as many times as he wants because he has a lot of fresh goblins in stock. All players gang up on the vampire and they manage to defeat him. The Vampire Lord was observing their fights, and he gets even more pissed at his elite vampires. Someone tells him that his elite vampires lost to humans, and it is his turn next because he already knows about all of his weaknesses. Someone tells him that his first weakness is that he can't use any weapon. Vampires' second weakness is their low defense level, and their high regeneration ability. Their third weakness is that they have no mana, and they need blood for all of their abilities. All this time, Seong-woo was using Devil's Bloodstone item, which was leeching off his health by 2% with each successful hit. Vampire Lord starts feeling weaker. Seong-woo tells him that his fourth weakness is that he talks too much, and instead of focusing on his minions, he should have gone straight for Seong-woo. Vampire Lord activates Blood Field around him, and he starts heading directly towards Seong-woo. Righty blocks his way, and he tries to attack Righty, but he uses his parry skill to divert the attack of the Vampire Lord. Righty throws a bottle filled with slime liquid directly to his face. Vampire Lord's face starts melting, and his vision is getting blurry as well. He has used too much blood, and now he has not enough regeneration power to heal his eyes. Seong-woo orders his minions to finish off the Vampire Lord. He can hear their footsteps, but it is still dangerous for him, and he could easily die. He starts wrecking low-ranked orc skeletons rushing at him, but he needs blood to regain his power. Soon he smells blood somewhere, and he starts heading over there. He's going after the blood of werewolves. They hung at the building for survivors to watch when they entered. Vampire Lord reaches the rooftop, but a werewolf minion stabs him from above. Seong-woo tells him that he's an idiot, and Seong-woo was getting his werewolf minion supply from that building in the first place. Vampire Lord receives massive damage as he hits the ground. Seong-woo is gonna finish this party with fireworks, so one of his minions throws the Vampire Lord in a room filled with monster corpses. Seong-woo detonates the building, and the Vampire Lord finally dies with that explosion. Seong-woo receives 10,000 gold for killing a special player, but he also completed No Country for Wicked Men special quest, so the system awards him with 30,000 gold and a C rank item ticket. His destiny has been altered as well because he completed an exclusive quest, and he will receive an exclusive skill in return. His party arrives, and Seong-woo is glad to see them alive, and they start celebrating their victory. The next morning, everyone is quite happy to see their saviors. There are also some people in the mix who were saved before by Seong-woo's party, but soon the survivors become confused with the arrival of a whole regiment of soldiers. Sergeant Kim is leading them, and he was spectating their fight from a distance. Seong-woo is wondering what they are doing here. Sergeant Kim tells him they were monitoring the group which was claiming that they have made safe zones, but they never imagined something this disastrous could happen. Seong-woo is glad that they didn't try to fight the vampires because they look much weaker. Sergeant Kim informs him that the Korean army is alive and well, and there is someone who wants to meet him. The army returns to their base without Seong-woo, and their leader seems to be pissed about it.